Welcome back. Now you see the title. Over the years, we looked past this type of rhetoric. We heard phrases like this. We may have even seen shirts, coffee mugs, memes like this. We've been seeing this for years. And we dismiss it. We look past it. We view it as harmless. Whatever you might think about it, we viewed it as harmless. Harmless rhetoric that won't get anybody hurt. Well, I think we were wrong. We were totally wrong. And this was mind conditioning the whole time. It served the purpose of conditioning people's minds for the laws that were going to enforce this rhetoric. Okay? This helps you to look at the laws that put dogs over people as normal, acceptable laws. I think we should consider that. And this is a dangerous era that we live in right now. And I'm only talking about dog culture. If you just look at dog culture, this is a dangerous era to live in. Now, this is Labor Day weekend. Most of us here in the United States have a 3-day weekend. Big shout out to all of you. Hope you're enjoying your 3-day weekend. I know I am. And every now and then, the OG of the dog culture critic crusade drops a video and steals the show. And they've done it again. The tag team of Animal Control, Sheepy, and Dog something awareness in Hungary. They make a good team. And they recorded this video that was broadcasted earlier today. I think I left a link to it from my original channel. These types of videos are, for me, as a creator who talks a lot, very therapeutic. I've said this several times. From every now and then, or really on a consistent basis, I need to be quiet and listen for a long time. I'm saying that I need to do this in order for me to stay on top of my game. Because there are not many people who talk at great lengths. I don't know, they just don't have the energy for it. But as a kid, I used to have to sit and listen to older people talk for hours and hours and hours. And I picked up a lot. I picked up a lot and helped me to pay better attention to whatever it is that they were talking about. I don't know, that's just how I'm wired. And that's with anything I deal with. It always helps me to hear other people talk about it and describe it in their own way. And then I get a better understanding of it. Well, with dog culture, if you're going to get together with people and talk about the problems that dog culture, presents to the general public, this is one of the most important discussions that you could possibly have. Okay? It may not be for everyone, but these uploads on Animal Uncontrol's channel are, and Animal Uncontrol in general, he's a bit ahead of his time. And I believe a few decades from now, these videos will have much more value in the eyes of the general public. He's a little ahead of his time. Him, Sheepy, us in general, we're ahead of our time. But if you have time, like I said, it was therapeutic for me. And that's, you just have to put yourself in my shoes to understand. As a content creator who does a lot of talking, it helps me to be quiet and listen to other people for a long period of time. And I want y'all to listen to this. Some of these stories are stories we're familiar with. They deal with some of the recent incidents involving dogs. But this is the most important thing that anybody could possibly talk about. And I'm talking about police officers, attorneys, politicians. This is what everybody should be talking about. Everybody. Citizens included. Dog culture is a major, major problem for everybody. That's just the fact. They're a major problem for everybody, no matter where you live. Now, I learned a few things from this broadcast. One is how much of a problem dogs present to people who live out in the country. Because my thinking this whole time has been to move out into the country to escape dog culture. Go out, live in the sticks, away from everybody, and I will escape dog culture. And that is just not the case. Apparently, that's not the case. And no matter where you go, there are going to be dogs, and those dogs and their owners are going to present problems. But most importantly, I think we need to pay attention to how the system favors dogs over people. There's no reason why anybody should avoid talking about that. I don't care who you are. You're a citizen. Do you want dogs to have more rights than you? Nobody wants that. So why aren't more people talking about it? I demand more people talk about this. And I'm talking about any and everybody. The Allie Beth Stuckies, some of these people with large platforms who talk about dogs anyway. Y'all need to segue into these subjects. Any of us, dog culture critics, could present our arguments to anybody in the world, and it would be just as relevant and important as anything else they decide to talk about. I don't care if you're talking about the President of the United States. They need to be talking about this as well. There is no discussion you could possibly have as an American that somehow light years above this subject in terms of importance. Now, I want y'all to listen to this.
Happy Labor Day, dogs. 3-day weekend for, the U.S.-based folks anyway. So I wanted to, can you see my screen? I've got where it says New Jersey dog sitter shoots, kills couples beloved, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Can you see that? Yeah, this came up, and this is kind of an interesting case where this this couple, or at least the woman anyway, was on, I guess it's called Rover. It's a pet, like a pet sitting agency. So they connect people who need a pet sitter with someone offering pet sitting services. So this couple, um, you know, hired this other couple to pet sit their pit bull when they were on vacation. So what happened was, first they got a call that the pit bull had, started a fight with another dog, right? So that was the first call. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, purpose-bred fighting dog got into a fight with another dog. Who could have seen that coming? Like, wow, I'll be dipped in shit. Nobody could have predicted that, right? So first it gets into a fight with another dog. And then the second call, so as the husband called to say he had shot and killed the dog. So we got some little pet sitter pew pew here. Now I guess on the upside, neither he nor his wife became the next Jacqueline Durand. I mean, pet sitting pit bulls is not the smartest thing in the whole world, I don't think. But so I hear it over and over as the dog numbers. I put a buckshot in your dog's head. He went after, so apparently the dog attacked the wife. He went after my pregnant wife. Come and get your expletive dead dog's property or body off my property. So now, because this guy is going, this is in TV news and everything. So the cook, the shooter, was charged with animal cruelty. And that can carry some long-term sentences. This was another case where actually it was a man who actually killed his wife's dog. And this guy, this was a while ago. When was this? Well, back in June. This guy is facing 10 years in prison for killing a dog.
Now, y'all remember this story? I do remember sharing this story. Man arrested for killing his wife's dog on camera. Claims his wife loved the dog more than him. Right? Many of you might remember I shared this story.
Man actually killed his wife's dog. And this guy, this was a while ago. When was this? Well, back in June. This guy is facing 10 years in prison for killing a dog. 10 years. So, and that's probably what's going to happen to this guy. I think there was also a weapons charge also. The gun may not have been.
10 years in prison. Just imagine somebody getting 10 years in prison for killing a fish. That's the equivalent of killing a dog. Fact. But you'll only get time like that for killing a dog.
Been properly permitted, because New Jersey has a lot of kind of onerous gun laws, at least compared to most other states. So yeah, they got the dog from a pit rescue. Blah, blah, blah. And there's all this, crying and like carrying on. Nobody says like, well, was a pregnant woman okay? Like, is this another Jacqueline Durand scenario? It's like, no, all they care about is the dog. And this man's being prosecuted for, shooting it. I guess because apparently it wasn't a straightforward self-defense scenario, because I think the dog attacked the woman, but then the husband shot the dog as it was running away. But my attitude is, who cares? Who cares? Remember Sheepy, there was that, you might have posted a link to this also. There was a discussion, I was either on Ban Pit Bulls or Dog Free, about, holding the owners of dogs that maul and kill, holding them criminally liable. Like, no more. It's like, oh, your dog deleted the kid next door. It's like, okay, here's your $100 off leash ticket, and they call it a day. It's like, no. That needs to carry criminal penalties. Provided these dogs are allowed to be owned at all, the owners need to be held criminally liable. And so one of these defund the police types injected themselves into like, don't we have enough people in prison already? It's like, okay, dummy, what do you think of cases like this or this, right? Is it really in the public interest to incarcerate people, like give them hard time for killing dogs? Is it? I mean, yeah, aren't there enough people? But they don't.
Yeah, they're giving them hard time for killing dogs, but when you're talking about punishing people whose dog deletes somebody, they want to complain and talk about aren't the don't we have enough people in jail? They always dig up for some type of excuse when you're talking about punishing dogs or their owners.
They don't object to this. They're not coming out. They're not protesting and saying, okay, yeah, we shouldn't be, you know, prosecuting and incarcerating. They're all for it when the victim is a dog, but when the dog victimizes somebody else, they're like, oh, it's all, it's all good. You can't put somebody in jail. You can't put the dog owner in jail for what the dog did, but if somebody fights back or even just deletes a random dog, yeah, put him in prison and throw away the key. So I think it even said here was that, they're saying that it doesn't go far enough. So yeah, instead of like putting, if you kill a dog, instead of 10 years in prison, let's give him 20. Let's get justice for Rover.
Right, that's what stood out. One of the things that really stood out to me about this story is that they've started a GoFundMe and they're now on a mission to increase like the charges that could be brought against people in these types of situations. Like you said, animal cruelty, which I don't even see how this would be defined as animal cruelty because it doesn't sound like he was abusing or torturing the dog. Like it attacked his wife and he shot it.
Well, that's the thing is like, they twist the definition of terms, right? Like, yeah, this is like shooting an animal in the head, or even a person for that matter, is not an act of cruelty. Like, yeah, if he soaked the dog in gasoline and set it on fire, that would be an act of animal cruelty. And that kind of stuff I'm not cool with. Yeah, I don't do torture, I don't do cruelty. But yeah, if something needs to die, kill it. Like, because that was something else I wanted to digress into.
Have y'all thought about that? When I shared that story, how many of you gave that real serious thought? The media outlet showed no concern for the pregnant woman who was attacked by a pit bull. This guy was supposed to have been one of those heroes that the media always fishes for. This was supposed to be one of those hero stories where a guy saved his lady, a pregnant lady, from being attacked by a lethal beast. They paid that hero story no attention at all because it was a dog that got deleted. That was so in your face and overt and criminal.
Particularly you, Sheepy, you'll get a kick out of this, but dogs do not have a right to life that we are bound to respect. Right? We don't need like much of a reason to kill any animal. None of them do. But the problem is that the system has been corrupted, by mutt nutters to grant all kinds of protection to these things. And then they wonder why we have so many dog bites and so many dog at large problems, because this even comes up in my neighborhood, because these animals are protected. They get a ridiculous amount of protection in the system. You want to hear something else? I think you and I discussed this privately, that something came up in my next door a few months ago where a cat was shot. This woman was allowing her cat to wander the neighborhood, which I admit, even though I like cats, well, actually, because I like cats, is probably not a great idea for a couple of reasons. So the cat gets shot. It didn't die. You know what the authorities did? Big fat goose egg. They did nothing. They called the sheriff, and the sheriff said, well, you know what? Maybe you should keep your cat indoors. Now imagine saying that that was the attitude for people shooting these dogs. Oh, somebody shot your dog. Well, maybe if you kept it under control, it wouldn't have happened. I know there's been a lot of I hate dogs and canine have been reporting about a case in Iowa where a cop, shot a dog that was charging him. And if you look at the video, the dog was definitely behaving aggressively. And now they're like, this whole big thing. The dog owner threw a tantrum in a public meeting. He knocked over the podium and had to be forcibly ejected. And people are chanting, justice for Rover, whatever. You see, like, there's so much value placed on the lives of these things, so much more than anything else, even including humans. And it's just ridiculous the amount of protection these creatures get, and it's so out of proportion to whatever limited value they add to society, if any.
None.
Yeah, what?
None. None. They add no value. Everything value or of value that they add to society, these dog lovers have to struggle and basically force it out. Basically, had to train them for I don't know how long, and then voila, it's doing something beneficial. Now it can sniff out this, sniff out that. But you had to train it for all this time, and again, it's not worth the risk. Yeah, you got a mutt that can sniff out something, but it's still lethal and still could take your head off somebody else's anytime it wants. It's not worth it.
One of the things that really makes me sick is the way these types of things are treated in the media and by the police. So you've seen when a dog gets shot or a dead dog is discovered somewhere or whatever, there will be like literal press conferences with the police department. And I don't remember the exact case, but I remember one where the cop or whatever was like, this type of person is the worst piece of scum. We're going to pursue this to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, that was that case where I think they caught this guy kicking his dog. Y'all remember that? He was outside like a gas station or something. He was caught on one of those public cameras kicking his dog. And boy, they lost their whole minds over that case.
Over some like dog. I think it was
Yeah.
like the guy who was caught on camera like kicking a puppy or something.
Yeah.
They treat it like he's committing like a mass murder. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They talk about, but when someone's dog okay, like for example, a case they've been covering recently too. Um, that boy, I think he was 6 years old, and was handcuffed, hands and feet, by his mom, her, I think, boyfriend and uncle. They were punishing him for not cleaning up after the uncle's pit bull. And he was then attacked by the pit bull while handcuffed and I guess being tied to a chair.
Oh,
Where
jeez.
are the press conferences where the police are saying these are the worst scum on earth? We're going to prosecute
Well,
them to
they
the
are.
fullest extent.
Yeah.
Right, they clearly are. That's one of the most horrible cases I've ever seen of child abuse. But I don't see the same reaction from the police or the media establishment. Like they're not calling that mother on TV the worst scum, the worst type of scum on the planet when she clearly is.
Right.
But some dude that kicks a dog is being hunted down like a serial killer or something.
Yeah, it's like
It's just so bizarre.
yeah, it's like they go after these people.
That is a very important point right there. Don't y'all see? They are like weaponizing dogs against us. They are, no question, and this is in the law. This is in the laws. They're putting dogs above people. Dogs first, people second. You, American citizen, you think you're the most important? You think you're the first considered in this country? No. Dogs first. You're second. All of us, human beings, second. This country belongs to dogs first, essentially.
people harder than, like, say, Jack the Ripper or the Zodiac Killer. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the value, attributed to the lives of these things is just ridiculous. Actually, there's something else I wanted to, I didn't have this on my list of to-dos, but there was a Supreme Court case in 1897. Both of you will appreciate this. So I think it was Supreme Court case. I think it was in 1897.
Hey, this right, please pay attention to this. This is very important. This is extremely important what he's about to share right here.
What involved, actually, it involved the killing of a dog. It's actually maybe the first or only time something like that went to the Supreme Court, where it's like dogs have no right to life. Now, I should have saved the, Sentel versus New Orleans. Yeah, this is really interesting stuff, but that, yeah, this is saying that a state statute providing that no dog shall be entitled to the protection of the law unless placed upon the assessment rolls. So I don't know if we want to go through this whole thing, but I think the point they're making is that you can claim a dog is your property if it's properly registered, right, with the municipality or whoever issues, dog licenses. And that in a civil action for killing a dog, the owner cannot recover beyond the value fixed by himself in the last assessment preceding the killing. So you have to declare that the dog is worth $100. So if somebody kills your dog, you'd have a civil claim for the $100. It's within the police power of the state. So this was interesting. So this related to someone was trying to recover the value of a Newfoundland bitch known as Countess Lona, alleged to have been negligently killed by the railroad company. I'd been passing around that video, that dog, quote, training video. They always say, oh, the dog needs more training. And I got the perfect training video right here. So this is an example of a dog getting trained, literally. So the company answered, denying the allegation of negligence, and set up a separate defense that plaintiff had neither complied either requirements of state law or of city ordinances. So the dog basically got hit by a train, but the owner was trying to recover damages anyway, in spite of the dog not being properly registered. I believe that's what's being expressed here, right? So then this relates to civil actions. So basically they're saying that, the offense is basically limited to the monetary value of the dog. Now they go down in here, and where did they say this? I want to look up something here. I want to find no right to. Okay, so as this goes on, there's a lot to this here, that laws for the protection of domestic animals are regarded as having but a limited application to dogs and cats, regardless of statute. Regardless of statute, a ferocious dog is looked upon as hostis humani generis and as having no right to life, which man is bound to respect. A vicious dog has no right to his life, which man is bound to respect.
People, 1897. You're listening to the status of dogs that have been deleted, where the owner is coming and pleading, saying, oh, this was wrong. Oh, I need to be compensated. This is their response in 1897. Oh, how things have changed.
That's what they had to say about that, right? So, but interestingly, though, this case, probably a lot of these cases where a dog is killed, they're qualifying it as like a cruelty case. Like you didn't want to just you didn't delete the dog in self-defense or for some practical reason. You did it because you wanted the dog to suffer, which is, it's a pretty big. I mean, you're or they are attributing motive here that doesn't really seem to be apparent. Like, okay, I just want the dog to endure like all kinds of pain and suffering. That's why I shot it. Like whether it was that case with a cop or the case with his pet sitter or the man that killed his wife's dog. It's like, yeah, I just want to like inflict as much pain and suffering as possible. I don't know how you distill that out of this. I mean, maybe they wanted to eat the dog, but you don't know that, right? All you can look at are just the facts of the case. They didn't say, yeah, I'm going to make that dog suffer. I'm going to hurt him, right? I'm going to make him just suffer like there's really no evidence of that. I mean, not that I can see. But I thought this was interesting. I've raised this case a couple of times. The dogs have no right to his life, which man is bound to respect. Now, of course, today that's changed. Now they have more right to life than people do. But I don't know if there have been any, court cases, and this is just, in the United States or anywhere else. It's stated distinctly that yes, dogs have a right to life. Like we're bound to protect and preserve their lives, even at expense to ourselves. Or is that just sort of the general consensus?
It would be a nightmare if there was a Supreme Court case at some point that established a precedent that dogs are something more. So I think the problem is legally dogs are property still. Like a
Yep,
dog is just property. So like this is saying the only value of the dog is what it's like actually worth as property.
yep,
But
As animal control, uncontrolled, pointed out earlier, property that's protected by animal cruelty laws. It's the only piece of protected property that anybody has. That you don't need insurance for that. It's like fixed insurance for dogs that assumes moral corruption on your part and anybody's part who inflict any harm to a dog whatsoever, even in self-defense. Wait a minute. This is also in line with how they assume that every dog that they find with an injury, that somebody inflict that injury to that dog on purpose just to see the dog suffer. It's ridiculous. It's almost cartoonish. And like I said, everybody need to be talking about this. These laws demonize everybody. They bend over backwards to demonize people who defend themselves. This even happens to cops. Look at how bad this cop is getting roasted. All of these cops get roasted like that.
the society has a completely different view of dogs than the legal definition. And they're pushing and succeed a lot of the times in treating a dog like it's a human or more valuable than a human. Like
yep,
in the case with the dog sitters, I have a problem with the way it's being reported. Like they're not doing any type of real journalism or investigation of this. They're taking the word of the people that owned the aggressive dog, and that's it. Like,
yep.
have they looked into, I mean, these people were
What
dog sitters.
which is criminal? Why are they treating the owners of the dog that attacked a pregnant woman like the victims? That's exactly what they're doing. Y'all remember that broadcast I shared? There's a few of them. And in each one, every time, they're treating the owners of this lethal beast that attacked a pregnant woman, treating these people like the victims, giving them all the sympathy, all the airtime. right? And helping to boost. Do they have a GoFundMe yet? It's criminal. It violates all types of civil everything. Like I said, everybody needs to be talking about this. Why aren't people outraged about this kind of stuff?
For probably a while now. They probably never, it seems like they've never had any other instances. They've never abused or been cruel to other dogs they've had at their house or killed.
Okay, she's talking about those pet sitters on Rover that had to delete that mutt for attacking the pregnant lady. Think about how many of y'all thought about that.
Are something more. So I think the problem is legally dogs are property still. Like a
Yep.
dog is just property. So like this is saying the only value of the dog is what it's like actually worth as property.
Yep.
But the society has a completely different view of dogs than the legal definition. And they're pushing and succeed a lot of the times in treating a dog like it's a human or more valuable than a human. Like
Yep.
in the case with the dog sitters, I have a problem with the way it's being reported. Like they're not doing any type of real journalism or investigation of this. They're taking the word of the people that owned the aggressive dog, and that's it. Like,
Yep.
have they looked into, I mean, these people were dog sitters for probably a while now. They probably never, it seems like they've never had any other instances. They've never abused or been cruel to other dogs they've had at their house or killed any other ones. But like, is there no you know what I mean? Like, is there no situation in which they're allowed to defend themselves? Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know what
Well, I
I'm
mean,
saying? Like,
you're right. Yeah. I mean, typically, I mean, almost always, these cases are distorted in the media for propaganda purposes, right? Nobody, yeah, there's no hard, they don't look at both sides. Nobody gets asked any hard questions. It's just taken it, oh, like, my poor sweet little fur baby got, murdered by the reincarnation of Jack the Ripper. And the media is like, oh, okay.
Now, he's laughing about that, but have y'all thought about that? That's exactly what happens. You defend yourself from somebody's stinking aggressive mutt. The dog owner treats you as if you're like Jack the Ripper, who just deleted their fur baby, and the media is on their side. And that's how they project the story. That is insane. And everybody should be outraged by stuff like that. That's ridiculous.
That you're right. It's totally, but that's the thing. And what's interesting is that at least technically, and people say this to me. They say, "Well, yeah, dogs are just property under the law." And I said, "Yeah, but they're property that's protected by animal cruelty laws." And the threshold, it seems, the threshold for proving animal cruelty, at least in case of a dog, like if you shoot a cat, and actually that cat that got shot probably did suffer. It survived, so it had to deal with a bullet wound until it healed. They never found out who did that. Well, they didn't find out who did it because nobody was interested in doing so. It's like, oh well, but yeah, but they're property that's protected by animal cruelty laws, and it seems that the system is definitely rigged in their favor. In other words, the legal system is weaponized against people that do this, even if it's a straight up self-defense case. And I know, I've spoken to that many times. When Colleen Lynn was on
That,
one of these calls.
I'm sorry, people. That is crazy important. Again, everybody needs to be taught. That is the flat out truth. That's where I got that phrase from. And that is the truth. Who's going to sit back and allow dogs to have more freedom than themselves. But people are such dog lovers, they're okay with it. They're okay with, as we all know, all too well. Now let's take a brief break. And I think it's important to do this. Now, the female you're listening to is the legendary Sheepy. And like I said, they make an excellent tag team partner. No, wait a minute. No, I need y'all to listen to Dog Culture Review Hungary. I know I'm messing up his name. I'm sorry. Please share his real name. He makes another excellent point. And this is so crazy to me. Listen to this.
Last year, I got a call. Like there was a dog actually attacking me, and I stabbed it or shot it, and I got arrested. I'm being charged with animal cruelty. And that's just insane. That's just straight up nuts. But I think that's what's happening is, and it goes to the whole unjust nature of this, is that, yeah, the legal system is being weaponized against anyone who, doesn't submit to the almighty dog, right? Like if Fido wants a chunk of you, he is.
Yep. Okay. I'm telling you, 20, 30 years from now, they're going to look back at these videos, be like, these people were right all along.
It goes to the whole unjust nature of this, is that, yeah, the legal system is being weaponized against anyone who, doesn't submit to the almighty dog, right? Like if Fido wants a chunk of you, he has an absolute unconditional right to it. And there's nothing you can do about it. But you wonder if that's even legal. Right. But yet it happens. That's what happens. Joe, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, well,
I know you live outside I often bring up legal stuff in the U.S. and I know it, but a lot of things too is, even though you're not under U.S. jurisdiction, but a lot of these principles do apply in a lot of other places, unfortunately. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's many aspects here that are actually interesting. Now, the funny thing is that you were talking about, the term of animal abuse, or like, dog abuse or whatever, and animal cruelty it was. And I was actually a bit confused by that for quite a long time, because I thought it was just a problem with my English, because I thought, I read all those reports as well where, people just killed dogs, like even by accident, and then they got charged with animal cruelty. And then I thought, okay, has the term somehow changed its meaning, like in the last 10 years?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Genuinely, I really thought that, okay, it probably is, the problem.
That is crazy. That is crazy. It's so ridiculous that people who speak different languages are starting to think that they got a poor grasp on English. Somebody defends themselves from an attacking dog and they get hit with animal cruelty. What? Insane. That is insane. How many of you are aware of this story that surfaced just a few hours ago?
A young man mauled by a Rottweiler is pleading for its owner to come forward and surrender the dog. It's the third incident in Melbourne's northwest in the past week. Chester Nahn has the exclusive details.
A trip to the barbershop was meant to be a walk in the park before a dog on a leash breaks free.
Now you hear the owner immediately starts screaming. When you have a dog owner that does that, just screaming, uncontrollably, you know you're dealing with somebody who definitely has no business being in possession of something lethal with a brain of its own. And you saw before this dog broke free, what was the owner doing? Looking at her phone. Looking at her phone. Not even looking where the dog is going. And look at the dog in front, leading her. I'm telling you, you're more likely to be attacked by dogs like this because they're playing the alpha position. So they're more likely to launch an unprovoked, just like what you just saw. I told y'all, these people are a little more dangerous than the hardcore guys who own these things who slap them around.
A trip to the barbershop was meant to be a walk in the park.
See how this thing is basically looking for somebody to attack.
Or a dog on a leash breaks free.
And the dumb nutter owner, just like they all do, always lose control, of course. If not, that thing would have just drug her.
I was just on my phone, and then all of a sudden, just attacked me out of nowhere for no reason at all.
Chilling screams.
There you go, so-called experts, big goofies. Another unprovoked. Every single attack report is unprovoked.
Echo through Roxburgh Park.
Look at the owner up there dancing, screaming. Is that helping? Are you helping matters any screaming? Don't they say don't scream when these things are in attack mode? That excites them even more. So you got this big dumb nutter. I'm telling you, this is why people end up beating these nutters up. Because they see how foolish and irresponsible they are. Up here screaming.
Chilling screams echo through Roxburgh Park.
Straight panic, like fear, straight away. Because it straight off the bat, like it looked angry as it was already.
The Rottweiler latching onto the 20-year-old, munching through multiple layers of clothing as he tries to run away.
I didn't even notice.
Listen to this idiot lady. Wow.
The face until like it came up beside me, and then all of a sudden it was just on my back. She was just going at me.
The owner wrestles his pet off.
Listen to her. Listen to her. These are the types of people in possession of these massive lethal beasts. You got people who are essentially weigh nothing but 95 pounds and terrified of the things themselves.
And with no apology, no helping hand, they later walk away.
See, buddy, this is why you need to be a crusader. Because you would have been armed. If you're out walking anywhere, you're going to be armed.
Lance injured and traumatized.
He's beat me everywhere. He's beat me on my back in places like I can't say.
In places that you can't say, this is exactly why you need to be armed. Okay? It sounds like an area of your body you definitely want to protect.
The third incident in the same council area in as many days. In Sunbury, a woman with a pram was mauled by 3 dogs on Friday, the same ones that attacked an elderly woman the day before. As for the Rottweiler that pounced on Lance, he's pleading for the owner to come forward.
I'm scared actually to even walk like in public anymore.
Scared to actually walk in public anymore. No, you just become aware of the risk. And hopefully now you'll make sure you're armed. Now, I think this is in the UK and they're not allowed to have tools in the UK. Buddy, you better get you a BB gun. I hear those are illegal in the UK. And I'm telling you now, they're very, very effective. You could have dispensed one in that mutt's face. Most likely would have went into its big nasty mouth. A BB in a mutt's mouth, it's going to react. It's going to have second thoughts. It's going to react to that. Do your research. They found where BBs have actually penetrated the skin of these things. When they're in attack mode, you need something serious to stop them. And this was a large bully breed. Rottweilers are bully breeds. Remember that. They're related to these pit bulls. Okay, so You can call it traumatized if you want, but you just now have a better awareness of what? Reality. You're not crazy. Don't listen to anybody telling you got xenophobia and that you need to stare at dogs until you feel comfortable rubbing on them again.
In public anymore.
Chesternan, 9 News.
That's pathetic. These are the creatures that's getting more rights than us. Creatures that out of nowhere just decide to put your life on the line, to threaten your life, decide to try to delete you. This, again, surfaced a few hours ago, as did this story surfaced just a few hours ago. The dog problem is very real. You see that? You see that? This woman's dog attacked 2 people within 24 hours.
When the 71-year-old woman was set upon while walking, she was dragged to the ground. Her face, back and legs were viciously mauled. 2 men rushed to her aid. They too were attacked and suffered injuries. The second incident was just 24 hours later and just as terrifying.
A young 2 people laid out.
Mother and her baby were walking to school pickup when the same dogs lunged at the 35-year-old mother.
So you defend yourself from these creatures. They're going to do their best to charge you with cruelty.
She pushed the pram out of the way to protect her baby as the dogs latched on to her face.
Look at them, just roaming around the community looking for anything living to attack. These are the creatures that's getting preferential treatment. And this is happening everywhere. That guy is a resident of Hungary that you just heard. They just recently changed the laws in Hungary to punish people who hit dogs. He also explained that even in Hungary, you can be driving, a dog jump in front of your car, you smack it with your vehicle, you can get hit with animal cruelty in Hungary. And that is something that just recently started. I'm telling you, they're cranking up nuttery all across the world. We're being deceived by what's going on over there in India. Or not India. Where is it? They're doing in Turkey. We're being deceived by that because their ultimate goal is to make more people dog owners. They're trying to pressure nutters into adopting these dogs.
Neck and legs. Today, the dog's owner apologized to the victim, saying she's devastated by what has happened.
I just really pray.
This is the owner. She had some nerve even to talk to the media.
For the woman, and I hope that she can forgive me and remember that I did save her.
Remember that I did save her. So she wants the victim to be thankful that she stopped or put an end to the attack that her dog launched on her. Look, get a load of that.
And I'm sorry to the public. I'm sorry to the community. And it's broken my heart.
Broken my heart. There you go. These mutant beasts get more rights and privileges than us.
The first 2 calls, honestly, I'm like, you have to have the wrong people.
Now, the female you hear is Sheepy. She shares a horrible story. Be sure to listen to this. Right here, they got it, even timestamp. A horrible story of her experience out in the country, which was news for me.
This metro complex, I guess you could say. So there's no dog control, there's no leash laws. It's perfectly legal for all these people to let dogs run around loose, and there's no restriction on the numbers. And I talked about on a previous call, I've contacted like the sheriff's department. The deputy told me he regrets that he can do nothing about it. And they've tried to get the county commissioner to implement some kind of leash laws because I guess they go on a lot of dog related calls, unsurprisingly. But basically, there's nothing that's going to happen to help the situation apart from either them moving or us moving. So anyways, I have been concerned that the way she's basically making the property a disgusting, like, dog waste filled nightmare is going to impact the price that we're able to sell this property for eventually.
Yeah,
So-
May, did you post?
She got a neighbor. Oh my God. She got a neighbor. This a nutter. This basically bringing down the property value. She, according to Sheepy, treats her home like a kennel to the point where she's spraying dog excrement down the driveway. This is out in the country, mind you. This is a place where I thought I'd be safe. All this time I've been fascinating about getting enough money to move out in the country. No, some horror stories coming out of there too.
There was a link. There was a post on Dog Free about someone who'd sold their home. I assume it was a suburban house because somebody moved in next door and started hoarding pit bulls. So you had nonstop barking. You had the overpowering stench of dog waste, and they sold the house. And even a lot of folks that were looking at the house were like, "Well, is it always like this? Like, does the barking ever stop or any?" And he said he took a $55,000 loss on it.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty, and then the problem was he was talking about suing, but the thing is he's already out of there. That's the problem. I mean, it might be actionable, but really you want to prosecute the lawsuit beforehand, right? Because that's a private nuisance. So and those cases can easily be won. I mean, provided you collect enough evidence and present the case, accordingly, you can, win on that. Because that's the thing is I was like, dude, you already basically you already cut your losses. But yeah, it's a concern, that because I think it does in a lot of cases, sort of ruin the neighborhood ambiance. And it's why it's interesting you're talking about goats and ducks and things. I mean, in most incorporated areas or even unincorporated areas, because I live in an unincorporated area, and you can't have farm animals. I think the only exception is you can have chickens, you can have hens, but not roosters. Interestingly, the roosters are zoned out because they're, quote, too noisy. And I believe it's the same with...
Can you believe that? You can't have roosters because they're too noisy out there in the country. But roosters are only noisy, if I'm not mistaken, at sunrise. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Country life is a lot different than city life. But if I'm not mistaken, they only make that sound during sunrise, which is not a big problem if you ask me. Right in line with, hearing birds chirping.
Ducks and geese also. But you can have a yard full of dogs that bark nonstop. That's okay, right? Because Fido and Rover always get the exception. I had a neighbor with ducks too, and I don't know what happened to them. I don't know, maybe code enforcement told her to get rid of them. My thought with your neighbor...
Wait a minute. I want y'all to hear this story from... wait a minute. We got sound here? I want y'all to hear this story from Sheepy.
At least at the time, like these...
This is not dog related, but there was some guy walking around exposing himself to people.
Wait a minute.
So,
Jurassic Park fence.
Oh, listen to this.
In this, kennel outside.
So, Sheepy, how about your situation? What's going on? Because you have that dog hoarder living nearby. What's any updates on that situation?
This is horrible. She lived, from what I understand, she's not in the city. She's in my paradise, what I thought would be paradise. But no, you cannot escape. You cannot escape these dog people.
I mean, it's basically the same. Nothing has really changed. She moved. She has all of these, small kennels, I guess you would say, like chain link, maybe 5x6 or 5x10 foot kennels that she moves around. She used to have a bunch of ducks in this kennel outside of the large fence with the dogs. I don't know what happened to the ducks because they were just gone one day. And so she's disassembled that kennel and then recently moved it inside of the Jurassic Park fence. So there's now a small section inside the Jurassic Park fence that's comprised of this chain link kennel. I don't know what, if anything, is in it now. Like I told you briefly, we were hearing the sounds of a goat kid, and those sounds have disappeared. I haven't heard the goat or seen the goat for a few weeks now, so I don't know if the dogs ripped it to shreds or if it's still back there being and just quiet. I can't really see a goat now, so I don't know what's going on with her. And then yesterday I drove by and she had put in a giant like deer feeder in her front yard. Like one of those things that like sprays corn everywhere, you know?
Yep.
So I don't know if she's trying to attract some deer to the yard so the dogs can maul the deer. I don't know. I don't know what is going on with her. The property is
I've always suspected a lot of people are like this. Well, not a lot. Well, some people are like this. She just sounds like a animal hoarder lover. Just she all over the place. She's hoarding pit bulls, and you put a deer feeder in there, just trying to serve all the animals. I guess she just lives for the animals.
this actually concerns me because we are talking more and more. You know, we haven't lived here for even 2 years yet. And they moved in about 6 months after us with all these dogs.
Yep.
And so we've been talking more and more about moving in the next 5 or so years just to get away from this area. Because as you know, we kind of moved out to what turned out to be like an unincorporated part of this metro complex, I guess you could say. So there's no dog control, there's no leash laws. It's perfectly legal for all these people to let dogs run around loose, and there's no restriction on the numbers. And I talked about on a previous call,
That is a nightmare. What I thought would be my paradise is actually a nightmare. So you move out in the sticks. You think you're about to have it good. You think you've escaped all the dogs. Well, out here, they can have as many dogs as they want. They don't have to worry about no leash law. Just let them run amok. So I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's not much better.
contacted like the sheriff's department. The deputy told me he regrets that he can do nothing about it. And they've tried to get the county commissioner to implement some kind of leash laws because I guess they go on a lot of dog related calls, unsurprisingly. But basically, there's nothing that's going to happen to help the situation apart from either them moving or us moving.
That is a nightmare. So these people moved in 6 months after Sheepy moved in. So basically immediately, shortly after she moved in, here comes the dog Nutter nightmare. Nutter horror of a neighbor. Hoarding pit bulls. I mean, on this broadcast, is my sound working? On this broadcast, Sheepy explains that this lady next door basically treats her home like a kennel. Right? Just completely insane. So if there's anybody out there who was like me, who thought, hey, I get enough money, I'm going to head out to the country and escape all this dog madness, you got another thought coming. Because, again, as Sheepy explained, dog lovers are attracted to these areas. They're attracted. That's why years ago I was talking about just getting my own island. Because that's the only way you can escape these things. You probably got nutters out there. You think you're escaping a nuttery, and there be nutters out there with cots in trees waiting on you. Boy, oh boy, I strongly suggest y'all get time. It's about 2 hours long. Listen to this broadcast. I'm telling you, it was like therapy. Anytime I listen to other people talk about dogs, it's like therapy. That's why I listen so much canine material and whoever else I can get my hands on. This anti-dog content, this content that's critical of dog culture, in my opinion, I predict is going to be treated, it's going to grow in value with time as time goes on. And it's going to grow and grow until people actually are acting on it, because dog culture, I'm telling you, is going to get so out of hand. And that's what it seems like they're trying to do. It seems like they're trying to cause chaos amongst American citizens. They're trying their best to cause complete chaos in society by doing the most backwards, crazy stuff you can think of. I know many of you heard what's going on in Colorado, where these illegal Venezuelan migrant gangs are taking over apartment complexes, stuff like that. And I hear Hell's Angels from New York City going out there to confront them. You're going to have a lot of people out there confront them. They want this type of chaos. They want, for whatever reason, so they can bring in the National Guard, so they can bring in New World Order, whatever. But listen, they're doing a good job. They are doing a good job. So y'all get the time. It's the type of broadcast you will, listen to while you're cleaning the house or whatever. Listen to this. And this is another important dynamic in dog culture. How they're using laws to put dogs above people, and understand, more than any other demographic, as far as humans, them putting dogs over humans, they're primarily in targeting young people. Dogs are more so the enemy to young people than they are to adults. Because again, you get attacked by a dog, you're a young person, no questions asked, you did something to provoke it. That's just what it is. And they're using what they actually, it's like a witchcraft. I'm telling you, it's occult stuff. They're trying to snatch the spirit of youngsters and give it to dogs. They're trying to get people to look at dogs the same way they look at youngsters. And they don't want you to look at youngsters the same way you look at dogs. You're supposed to look at dogs as being more valuable, because that's where it starts. If you're going to accept dogs being above people, it has to start with you accepting that they're more important than youngsters. So these are very, very dangerous times. I know a lot of people tune in to my broadcast to get a good laugh, or they think it's entertaining, but these are extremely, extremely important subjects that we deal with here. Shout out to Dog Culture Review in the super chat. Said, dogs are the coming of the end. We can react to dog bites all day, but this culture is trash, and we need to treat it as such. And that is most definitely the truth. Shout out to Dog Culture Review. Be sure also check out the content from Dog Culture Review. Dog Culture Review, Animal Uncontrol, and I think Sheepy produces content. Be sure to check them out. Like I said, it helps me to listen to other people's content and other people talk about dog culture in general. Shout out to all of you able to join me for this late night creeper. Hopefully y'all have tomorrow off like I do. And I will be chopping it up with y'all. Well, not tomorrow, actually later today. So in a few hours, hopefully, as we continue with this crusade.